The youth from Anavyssos, and that may be a mispronunciation, and I apologize, is an early Kouros. And what we're looking at is a piece that's named after the village in Attica where he was found. This is really, really common. We tend to name a lot of Greek statues after the place that they're found. And it dates to around 530 BCE, showing advances towards more naturalistic proportions and more subtle contours. The sculptor had penetrated the block to a greater depth, thus achieving greater three-dimensionality. Individual forms are more rounded and naturalistic. And there's greater unification of the parts of the body and a more strongly felt sort of corporality than what we've seen in the past. Details are seen in the round and indicate a modeling of shapes with less emphasis on the linearity that we saw from the New York Kouros. In other words, it's becoming more realistic. They're rounding out those forms. The head reveals an increased ability to render anatomy realistically, having given a more natural shape and improved the detail. Note, for example, the detail around the eyes, the face, the ears. However, it is still executed in this very stiff, upright position, very rigid. The face is smiling just slightly. That is the archaic smile once again. And so we see this piece that is going to be very rigid and frontal, but yet starting to move. We see that step forward happening, very similar to what we saw from the Egyptians when we looked at some of those old kingdom statues. The difference is it's no longer married to the block. We see the ankles are built up a little more than you would expect, but again, that's the weak point when you're trying to create something that is a human form in a non-human material, which, by the way, sculpting in human material would be weird. Don't do that. But the marble, of course, weighs way more than a human form, and even as humans, with the slight flexibility of bone and muscle and everything else, we still roll and break ankles all the time. You can imagine what happens when you put 500, 1,000 or more pounds of marble on a joint that is the same size. So we still see that size, that development of the ankle, that enlarged ankle, for engineering reasons. So it's not a reflection of an emotional state, but an index of vitality. The reason they look young is because these are supposed to be young and vital figures. It's argued by some that the youth is because people want to be remembered this way. You don't want to be remembered again in your last days when you're sick. You want to be remembered at your height.